We're talking about the controversial topic of AI. But first, we are joined with a guest, Dr. Rebecca Edelman.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Of course.
Commonly referred to as Dr. Bex.
Dr. Bex, the person with the cute corgi. Any of the above is acceptable.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Thank you.
Of course.
So, controversial.
Controversial, yeah.
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 So what are the controversial aspects?
It's ruining the environment.
Okay.
And people's ability to think and do their own thing. Yeah.
Yes.
That one's a big one.
So those are the controversies. And yet, people are using it because it's making things quicker and more accessible and
easier. I think folks are trying to do everything all at once, and it makes it easy.
Is that better?
Yeah, sorry, it was bothering me. It had to happen.
And I'm having a little bit of a proud mama moment.
I'm surprised you didn't say anything beforehand.
Normally that I would have been, but look at you. You took care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to AI.
Yes. Yes.
What are your opinions? What are both of your opinions on AI?
Mixed. Definitely mixed. I think I have seen AI do amazing, wonderful things. I have seen it help people organize. I've seen it help people come up with coping strategies. I've used it to create to-do lists when I just don't know what to do next and I need a little help with that executive processing. At the same time, and this is a quote from like a former Miss USA contestant of, it's the greatest thief of creativity. Like, in my opinion, it steals, going back to what you shared, Victoria, of like, it steals people's ability to think, and they're not thinking and processing. They're just checking a box.
Yes. Yes. And I would say it's very mixed for me also, for multiple different ways. And I think a lot of it is depending on how it's being used and what capacity. So obviously in mental health, I'm really watching how it's being used to help and where are some serious concerns that I have. And then certainly in my own use in teaching and having students use it, and then just in general, like for businesses and other aspects. So for me, like there's definitely some AI provides a tool.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful when it's giving you a tool to do some things that are typically mundane or time intensive, but those things don't really add a lot of value to any of the processes that are doing. So for instance, in counseling, assisting writing with documentation, that can be really helpful. Yeah. Getting ideas for some potential treatment plans. Again, as long as there's no client information in those. And I know that AI is being used in client sessions and so forth to help clinicians. I've also, and I have to be very careful. I make certain that there is no connection of names with that information and so forth. So I think it's helpful in those sense. I think there's a lot of opportunities in education to have students think with it, like a research partner.
Yeah, brainstorming buddy,
things like that. But I am really concerned, and I think this is going to be the distinction in the future for individuals, which is their ability to think critically.
Yes.
And what I'm also seeing is I think individuals still have to have enough content knowledge to know whether the outputs AI is producing are accurate or not.
Yes, because AI will go strongly and wrongly in the wrong direction, and it will be so confident, and it's so wrong.
Yes. Well, and like sometimes students are surprised, like they're submitting something and it's like, no, we can. Well, no, and it's like, AI is making up names of journals. Yeah. Like there is no source of that name. Yeah. Like you do it, but like, and so it is interesting that it can pick up a lot of inaccuracies. Even in the clinical work I do, it'll say, and you assigned a journal for, writing a journal. over the next week. And it's like, no, I didn't. I never do that. No. So it's sort of funny like this. So I sort of appreciate that it's not completely accurate and it still relies on the human touch for editing. But I do think, and this is what we're seeing with AI, the prompts that we give it, what we're using it and our ability to do that. I think those individuals who can think critically and understand how to use AI at a deeper level, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Even though there's still some controversy.
Listen, I'm not promoting the use of AI. Would not be doing that. However, my biggest thing is you can't Google something anymore.
What do you like? People can't, or they're not?
Like you Google it, and the first thing that pops up is an AI response with the AI Gemini thing, Google Gemini. That's immediately what pops up. So, like, no matter what you do online, you're using AI.
Yeah. Well, and I think we use it and we don't even realize it. Like when we're in our car and our GPS is driving us, like all of that algorithm is driven by something, right? But the reality is I think folks don't know that that's AI. And so they Google it, they're using it, and they're like, this is fact when it's AI and it's inaccurate. And, then they take that and it really highlights an issue for me. And that's around media and AI literacy. Like, how are we preparing folks to be able to interact, interpret, and understand what is and what isn't AI?
Yes.
And then knowing that it's everywhere.
That what is and isn't AI, that's a big topic. All over social media, if you see something like even slightly out of the ordinary, you're like, oh, this is AI. That's what all the comments are. And it's like, no, that is possible, quite literally, more than possibly an accurate video or something. However, my least favorite use of AI is the creating images and stuff like that. I just think that's so,
Yeah. Well, and it's like, right, especially when you're taking it into like some of these deep fakes and some of these like taking somebody's image or likeness and, changing it and transforming it. And then also there's this like hypersexualization of celebrities now that's going around. But I think it even goes deeper than that of like, those are all extremely wrong things, but it's also creating, I think, an unrealistic image for what people should look like. People are now using AI filters, AI editing softwares to change the way that they appear. And then that creates larger issues with mental health, body image, body dysmorphia, higher rates of ED. Right. And it's like when you have the AI software controlling all of that and it's so easy and it's free and it's right there. And you just have to watch a 10-second ad to get the content. And people are just losing what it means to actually be real.
Right. And, and we've even talked, the appeal of filters and then taking it this even more extreme step, right? That a distortion of our own image or something else too, we're replacing it. And, and so I do think that question of what's real, what's AI, and some things are very clearly AI generated, and we're seeing that. But I think people are really starting to question whether they can trust what they're seeing. And, but then again, the thing that you talked about, this is what really concerns me, which is that individuals are going to AI for relationships.
Yes.
Right? For friendships, for intimate relationships. We are having people leave marriages, partnerships for an AI personality or whatever that is not real.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing it more and more. And it's like folks know it's out there. They hear the dangers of it. They hear the prevalence of it. And then they continue onward. And I think it highlights a couple things for me. One is just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Right? Like just because you can doesn't mean you should. But it also means that there is clearly a lack of relational intimacy, communication. We're in a world where it's so easy to hide in technology and not have to deal with the sticky, uncomfortable, challenging stuff. We don't have to have confrontational conversations. We don't have to be able to voice we're unhappy in our relationship and we want things to change because the AI chatbot is going to tell you everything you want to hear, exactly how you want to hear it. It's going to validate you. It's going to affirm you. It's going to make you feel all good inside. And that's really what we want is we want connection. We want to feel good. We want to feel valid, but we don't want the hard stuff. But the hard stuff to me is life.
Right.
That's the beauty.
Well, and that's sort of that realness that people bring, that authenticity. And I almost think when there's too much superficial aspects, even in a relationship that's sort of surface level and superficial, what people typically will begin to feel is the isolation.
Yeah.
And so then they get into this and it meets an emotional need at the time that they did not have. And it's easy to get into these emotional relationships with technology right now, especially when it's all validating, but you go down that hole and it's difficult.
Well, it is difficult. And I worry because we're seeing folks younger and younger using it for this purpose.
Yes.
We're seeing folks younger and younger having casual conversations with AI, having, friendships with AI and intimate relationships.
Yes.
And I think it goes beyond just using a chat, but also knowing that now you can generate videos and images and a live person sitting on a screen having a conversation with you. It feels so real. And it takes away from the ability to just feel connected to the world around you. And I think it's creating this loneliness endemic, this point of how do we feel? How do we connect to others? How do we relate and have those skills to talk and build relationships and rapport? And then also handle the hard stuff of rejection.
And I would wonder if we've been in that loneliness era for much longer, almost since the phone, the smartphone.
Ooh,
you know, right? Like we used to use a phone to call somebody to be connected, like we're on our way, this or that. But now everything it's all through that screen.
Yeah, it's all letters.
Yeah, and I mean, and it could be other things besides that. But how many times do we go out to dinner? And myself, and we've talked about this.
I don't scroll on my phone when I'm out to dinner with other people.
Yes, you're very good at that.
I do not. Yes. I enjoy company.
Yes.
Also, I will say, one thing that AI will not do for you is argue with you.
No.
But some people...
Because sometimes I'm guilty of using it, y'all. Anyways, I don't like it, but I've used it. And sometimes I'm like, no, you're wrong. And it's like, okay, here's it fixed, but it's not fixed. And so then I'm like literally typing at it, cussing at it, and it's just like, LOL, okay, here. And I'm like, no, not LOL. This is serious.
It wants to give you what you want. It's like the ultimate type,
it's not like listening.
Right? It's not hearing you. But it's a people pleaser.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find those in real life, y'all. You don't need it online.
It's true. Like, number one guilty person of that. Yeah.
Well, but this is what I also mean by you have to have the ability to know the content and say, hold on, this is not accurate. Oh, you're right. Good catch. Because it was leading me to and actually one of them was a regulation. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's against this particular regulation. And they're like, oh, good catch. You're right. You need to do this. And so again, it's been very helpful in a lot of ways, especially as a business person, when sometimes you can feel a little isolated. A small business owner trying to do different things can feel a little isolated, especially looking for different ways right now, like for growth and some ideas in some areas that are not my area of expertise and so forth. And so it can be helpful with some of those things. But then I worry, like, okay, you're giving me these ideas, which seem on par with what I know, but those are not my areas of expertise. If it's giving me some other stuff, I'm like, no, this 90% is accurate, but this % is not. And so fix this.
Recently,
yes.
I needed an idea for episode title. So I asked AI, I said, pull up all the Dr. Therapy Mom episode titles and give me one that matches the vibes for this topic. And it gave me none of the vibes. And I was like, okay, well, here's some typical things that occur in titles. And it was like, no, actually, you're wrong. There are actually only a semicolon in 10% of the episode titles. So I went through and I listed every single episode title. And it was
you got in an argument with AI?
I do frequently. And it was like, oh, You're right. After telling me I was wrong 3 times, it's like, oh, you're right. It's in like 88% of the titles. So I was like, okay, yeah, I know I'm right because I made the titles. Anyways.
So I'm curious. This brings up a question of like, how do y'all use AI, right? So in a recent study from Pew Research, it came out that 16% of teens and adolescents use AI to have casual conversations. It shared that they, and that I'm like, okay, well, what is a casual conversation?
Yes.
And to me, something like that would be a casual conversation. It would be something like we have an exchange back and forth. Now, I'm just entering information and I want an output, but then we engage with it and we go back and forth with it. So I'm curious. A, your thoughts on that, but B, how do you use AI?
I wouldn't consider that a casual conversation. Nothing about that was casual.
Well, you were wanting an output.
Yes, and it was wrong. So then I was like, this is what I'm looking for. Specify it a little bit more. And no, it was wrong again. I was like, okay, this is what I have. Can you give me something that's similar?
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is so interesting. As you were saying that,
there were cuss words in that.
I support that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But this is interesting, right? The casual conversation, because this is very different than what would have occurred with Google, right? Before AI, and if it was, I don't think you could have just Googled, like, give me some ideas.
No, you would have had to create them.
And that gets back to...
That's a lot of thinking. That's a lot of creativity. I'm all creativity out.
Right. Well, are you all creativity out, or is it you're choosing to use your creative side in these particular areas, but in these areas you're like, no, I just would like an AI partner to help me with these.
I would like someone else to do it because I don't want to do it. However, if I have to do it, then I'm taking the easy way out.
On that.
Yeah.
But there's other areas where you're not.
No. I'm editing all my own photos. I'm editing my own videos. I do all my own graphics for social media.
Right. And I think it goes back to the images. You are not wanting any AI generated images.
They don't look good.
They don't. But I think that's a huge thing because I think there are folks who are running businesses who are burnt out, who are just like, I need something. And so AI is going to make it for me. But then you have the critical audience who is like, clearly no effort went into this. Why am I going to support it?
Yeah.
And so there's so much power in the creator. But at the end of the day, not everybody's a creator.
Right.
And so that means A, you either have to hire and pay a creator, or B, you settle.
Yeah. Well, so the ways that I have been using it, several different ways. And again, it depends on my role.
Yeah.
Right. For clinical work, I have been using it to help generate some notes that are needed for the field. And that has been a huge time saver because I can write notes. It's not like that I can't, but it does take a great deal of time and effort to do that. So you see a 55-minute session, and to do a good note, to handwrite it, it's 15 minutes. Yeah. And so AI can help me write it in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then you edit it, you check it
I
for
have
quality.
to edit it, and it's all there. And it's actually, I would say it captures a better quality than what I typically generate. But again, I'm very careful, and whatever I use, I'm making certain that AI is being used downward to inform it, but that it's not taking it and moving it back out to inform that. So, and there's some very specific things for always making certain client confidentiality. For education, I'm trying to use it in a variety of ways, which is finding opportunities, like especially when I'm teaching counselors, how can I create assignments so that they understand how their clients might be using it? And then also thinking in terms of, have it to write a Psychology Today profile, put that in there. Now I want you to start editing it, because that's the thing. I think sometimes we can get so impressed with what AI generates, but the more I have my students dig into it, the more they realize this is really surface level.
Yeah.
And the nuances and the individuality and and the complexities of different cases are all a little bit different. And so what AI can give you as far as recommendations or responses, it's good initially in the sense of it tapped the surface, but there's so much more that it does not.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is it takes these big pieces that have life and vibrance and it flattens them. Whether it be in image generation, whether it be in the content we're looking for when we're talking about assignments or details about a profile or something, right? It flattens.
Right.
I think about, I once used it for like, I was trying to write a cover letter quick and I was like, okay, we're going to see like what it does. So I like uploaded my CV. I uploaded a previous cover letter that I wrote thinking like, oh, maybe it'll try to match. And every rendition of the cover letter started with, I'm enthusiastically applying for this position, ! I'm like, oh. No. And then even reading through it, all of the things that I think brought to life on paper who I was as an educator, as a researcher, as a person, were just muted. And all of the things that were like, we're checking a box because we know this will be on a hiring survey, were highlighted.
Right. And I will say that's another way I use them, which is to write some recommendations.
Yeah.
However, I find that I get these very like generic and cheesy language and it's just not me. It's not anything I would want people to write about me. And so what I have learned is the more specific I am with the qualities I want to highlight about that person, right? Because those are the things that I know. I want to do that. But sometimes where it does save me the time is one, getting started.
Yeah.
Because that could be one of the hardest parts is like, oh, I got to sit down and just sitting and starting that. So I can take really the meat of what I want to put in there. Like, Bex is, and I can just like, all the wonderful things that I want to say. And then I can say, here's the position they're applying for or the scholarship they're applying for. And so I'm finding I'm getting really good at writing the prompts. And so that means less editing on my end. Yeah. But yeah, I'm watching and I'm editing that now because I don't want cheesy language in there. I want it to sound professional and I want it to be somewhat my voice in those things. So that's another way that I've used it. I'm trying to think. And then some other ways I've used it is, doing some lessons, right? Like I know these are the 10 things I want to cover and I have content, but I might use some AI to help me think about how I want to organize it, maybe some transitions in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And then just kind of like piece it together in a cohesive way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say some things I'm really concerned about, and this is a discussion I'm going to have with some of my students, right? One, I think the plagiarism and academic dishonesty is just sort of cut and dry. Like, no, you cannot use this and count this as your assignment.
Yeah.
That's just not okay. But now I'm even seeing, and I don't know if students are, because I've done this, like emails, sometimes I feel like I ramble sometimes when I write, sort of like how I talk sometimes, and loop back around. So I'll take what I'm writing in email and okay, make this more concise and clear. And, but then I wonder if students are doing this because I'm reading discussion posts. Anybody who's done online education, I think this is the one thing students usually tell me after graduation, I will not miss their discussions.
Yes. I do them live for a reason.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm reading these and this has been very specific this summer. Like so many of them are like, they're sounding the exact same and they are AI format and I'm like, oh, you know.
Well, and especially for things that are meant to encourage critical thinking.
And a voice.
Yeah.
If we're training students to be leaders, and in this case, we're training them to be counselors, finding your voice, using your words. And as an instructor, I want to hear your voice. So especially in discussions, like I don't care that punctuation, your grammar, whatever, I'd rather hear it because it's a discussion.
Yeah. Well, and I want to hear your opinion and your stance on it. Like, I want to know not just like, great, you can regurgitate information. I want to know what it means to you.
Yes. But as you're reading this, I mean, like, they're all sound the same. Like they're changing it into this whatever AI format. And I think this is what people are really getting, they're really adverse to now and with the AI generation. And I think almost any whiff I don't know why words are escaping me right now, but any indication that AI did this, it's losing some credibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And same with me.
Yeah.
Like I don't care that people are using AI. It should not look and sound like AI.
Exactly. Like there should be a vetting process, an editing process, a personalization. It should be an aid, not the end all be all.
Right.
So I'm curious, Victoria, you said you attend your live classes for a reason, to not do the discussion boards. I'm wondering if you would talk a little bit more about that and like, does that relate at all to AI? Like, are you seeing kind of what we're seeing in the discussion boards in any way?
No, I don't read the discussion boards.
That's fair.
I read the prompt and I go, yeah, okay, I'll yap about this. I don't want to do word count.
Okay.
I feel like it's more critical thinking to put it into words than it is to talk about it. And then I don't want to respond to people because half the time they don't leave anything to respond to.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Well, and a part of me, knowing you a little bit, I would wonder how much of it you actually prefer to listen to people than to read what people...
I don't read.
I mean, you obviously read, but you have to. I'm guessing.
It takes forever and a half, and I'd be rereading their freaking posts like 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
I'm just, everybody, and that's what I'm saying, like different learning styles.
Well, and different accessibility.
And to be honest, when I do the written ones, I just skim people's responses. I don't actually read them. I said, oh, you mentioned that? Here's my thoughts on that.
It's valid, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're busy, and I think that's the reality is... When we think about education and accessibility, I often think about how is AI helping create accessibility because we're all busy. We all have time constraints. We're all just trying to do the best we can with the limited resources and time that we have. And AI is a resource.
Yeah. And, you know, as you said this, it makes me think in terms of we consistently improve our productivity and our efficiency, and we are these human doers and human performers. And how often are we just human beings that we're just with each other? And I worry that we're losing some of that. And I'm not always as good at that either, just being with other people. I mean, I think I prioritize relationships and have pockets and need to balance some things because that is so important. But relationships and spending time with people, a lot of times, that's one of the first things that we sort of put on the back burner while we do and perform the things that we have to tell ourselves that we have to.
Yeah. And so I guess then the question is that, so we're talking about the controversies of this, right? And like the balance of it. Is there a point where AI becomes the facilitator of those other things so that you can prioritize those relationships?
I do think so, right?
And then we lose jobs.
Yeah.
This is, and I wonder how scary this is, especially, I think it is for all of our generations, right? Like, will people be replaced? And I think those of us who've been in careers for 30 plus years, we have seen how technology changes different ways that jobs are performed. And so there are these mass layoffs as more automations are made available.
I think it's interesting, though, because I think this is the first technology where I've ever been like, whoa, is any profession that involves human communication and connection actually at risk?
Yeah.
Like, is there a point where people are going to try to make conversations like this obsolete?
I don't know.
Probably.
I think there will be an attempt, but I am encouraged at the recent pushback.
Mm-hmm.
I think your generation is pushing back.
Here's my thing. We're dropping data centers in the middle of the ocean. Our icebergs are already melting from global warming. Why are we making them melt faster? Because you're warming up the water.
Yeah.
And so an already sensitive topic of our environment and global warming and those types of things are being exacerbated by data centers.
Absolutely. Well, I live in Arizona, and the amount of data centers that are going up in a state that actually has no water, like a significant amount of our water is funneled in through canals. And yet here we are taking these big eco disaster water chugging machines and saying, it'll be fine. Like, I'm like, today.
In one of the hottest states?
Yeah. Because
Why
we have
not
to keep
Alaska?
them cool. We have to regulate them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then there's very real, future financial issues, right? If jobs are eliminated and these efficient data centers and AI, and, we're already seeing a widening gap in wealth in this country and all over the world, and what that might mean. So, I think that there are some very real concerns, and they are saying these data centers, especially in some of these repercussions potentially with the disparities in wealth, that this is going to be one of the major deciding factors in the midterm elections and how local and state federal politicians are handling the data centers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important, but I think it's such a hard issue because I don't know that I'm even educated enough. And this is something that I research in, I live in, I work in, and I'm like, I don't even know that I'm educated enough to say like how I really feel about a lot of the stuff that is happening, other than I'm kind of scared of it. Yeah. Like I don't know what I don't know. And there's not a lot of transparency. There's a lot of negatives that are happening. But at the same time, I often wonder of how long is AI actually going to be the thing, or is this a trend? Because right now the biggest fight is, right, those elections are coming up and that's a big point. And we're putting all these data centers up, but we don't have a way of monetizing AI yet. We have some pay services, we have some paywalls, but for the most part, AI is losing money.
Right. Well, and that's what they're actually saying. AI is losing money, but then also when they're investing in AI, even companies who were supposed to be saving all this money, what they're finding is there's been such errors or some other costs and expenses that it's actually costing more money.
Yes.
And so a lot of these large companies are pushing back and saying no. So I have both these mixed feelings of I'm in awe of AI and all of its potential. And I think that there's some really interesting things that it can do and help in some ways. But then again, the fear of at what cost, and at the cost of relationships, at the cost of dreams related to vocations and skills, which leads to confidence, which leads to economic status. Because if we do not have pathways for vocations of a variety of different levels, because, and it is sort of scary when they're like, so really only the trades will be available because AI will take over every thinking job. And I don't believe that is true. And, and I don't believe education is no longer needed or important because AI is there and it can tell you anything. Well,
AI is wrong.
It's
really dumb. It's artificial intelligence, but it's really artificial dumb.
Well, and I don't think we've started to see I had a bad word come to my head, so I just stopped myself. I'm just sort of like the dumb fuckery that I think people will actually use AI for, because AI is a large language model. So it's pulling all that's out there. Yeah. Not all the correct stuff. No. All the valid stuff. There's also, and this was another thing that's coming up. And actually, I think this was mentioned in by a senator, which is AI is pulling all of this stuff from writers, scholars, musicians, artists. It's stealing everything work. And not citing it, right? We've always had to give credit where it is due.
This is plagiarism.
And it's making it this general knowledge, and it's not. So all of these people have been protected through copyrights and trademarks, and
now they're not.
And AI has no respect for that. Yeah. It's just pulling it all together. But then that is on us as the user, because I need to know where this information comes from.
I need to be able to vet it, check it, and also cite it back.
Exactly. And so those are in some of the prompts, like, because, and that's what I'll do is like, provide me only scholarly sources that can be cited, that I can access, and so forth. And, you know, so I think it's great that knowledge can be more accessible, that it's, you know, and yet people, like, it's intellectual property that needs to be, credited and valued in different ways, and not that it's just owned by these AI engines. So it'll be, I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of it will depend on how it's regulated. And, you know, we're just talking about in our own country. So then you have to realize, like, we have to maintain a certain level of knowledge and competency, especially as it relates to the rest of the world. And we don't know what other countries are putting into place. I've followed some things that people are doing with social media and the limits, especially regards to age.
Yes, both in Australia and the UK, right?
And I think Sweden and some other countries. And so I'm hoping that we might see some of that also in the United States.
Yes, I'm hopeful
Probably
too.
not. Probably not.
Probably not. And I think you're right. I was reading, and I feel like there was something, I can't even remember, I read it now, but there was an order that was like, we're going to bring AI to schools, and we're going to bring it to children, and we're going to bring it to youth. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like,
please don't.
Oh.
Keep it out.
Well,
but at the same time, when those kids who are maybe in middle school now get to the workforce, are they going to be expected to know how to use AI?
I think, like with anything, yes. But I just also don't believe all kids need tablets in their hand. There's a time and a place, and they need to know some things.
Yeah.
But my goodness, they need to know how to relate to others. I mean, this is what we're talking about right now with Gen Z. And again, no, it's not a slam on Gen Z, because they're products of those experiences. But right now, you know, in the past, these Fortune 500 companies wanted intelligent people and IQ. And right now they want EQ.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence. They need people who can discuss an issue. They need people who can resolve conflict. You know, and
Are you saying Gen Z can't do that? I can do that.
I am saying in general, that is some of the challenges with your generation, is that they are not seeing them being able to successfully navigate this in general. I mean, let's face it.
My generation's not emotionally stable, let alone intelligent.
That came from you.
But I think there's a reason for that, right? Like, think about all that your generation has gone through, not just in terms of like socio-political health, but the reality of being born into a world of technology. Like, you never didn't have technology in the way that, like, I remember like not having internet. I remember not having cell phones. And then now I think about, like, I have a 9-year-old nephew. He has never known a world that didn't have a cell phone in it, and hasn't had technology constantly fed to him through so many multiple outlets. And I wonder, like, what it would look like, right, if technology wasn't the primary source of how we deliver everything.
Right. Well, and then with that, because I would have said them growing up, it would have been very easy, much easier to put technology in their hands. And don't get me wrong, we did at times. They had their little things.
I played outside in the dirt.
Yeah, but that's important, right?
And how much of that are we able to get our kids out there to do? You know, and it's not a slam against anyone, because I think people are so busy. How do we get people to slow down? And I think people are so busy trying to survive. And, you know, and we do these things, but yet I feel like sometimes, and I'm so guilty of this, our standard of living, the things that we think we have to have.
Yeah.
That instead, if we consumed less, then maybe we wouldn't have to make as much to pay for all the things that I consistently consume.
Living's expensive.
It is very expensive. Yes. And the rate of which it has increased, has grown exponentially. And so I do think it's really hard in a lot of ways. And so, I just go back to this concept, and, I know our topic is AI, but I think that this is so valid, which is this concept of our relational landscape. That is what is so imperative, so when
I need you to put that in human terms.
So Dr. Bruce Perry talks about the importance of this relational landscape that we used to have, and I can't remember the exact number, but the village that, it takes a village to raise a child. And so it used to be, we had X number of people. I'm just going to throw out a number, but our listeners can throw in the correct number, but we might have had like 100 adults to one child. Or 100 adults to 4 children or whatever it is. And now our acceptable ratio for infants is a 1 to 4, and how many households have a single parent? Yeah. Our classrooms are busting at the seams with, 25, 30 students on a nice,
that's a nice
class size, right? But now we're even having, that the qualifications of our adults and teachers we're having to reshape some of what those are to be learning from. And so and we used to have extended family that lived close by and all of those things. And we've just lost some of that. So we have these families, if they are lucky enough to have a couple of adults in them, they may not be near extended family that tends to have support. And so we're much more isolated. And so this relational landscape is so imperative. And instead, we're replacing it with screens.
Yeah.
Right? We're putting screens in our kids' hands. And so, yes, it's going to be natural that they start talking to AI. I mean, how long have been people talking to Siri and Alexa and things like that?
That's crazy, y'all.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of the scary things. What are we feeding it?
And we're pretty much feeding it everything. Right? Between what we put on the web, what we have on our phones, apps that have permissions, because we never read the 18 pages of fine print. Right? And then at the same time, how many devices do we have listening to us at any given time?
Right.
Well, currently, at least 3 that I can see. Yeah.
Yes, we do love our devices. And I mean, and that's that, we're saying these things and I'm saying these things, and yet I'm using my device.
The same thing.
Yeah. But it's the reality of our lifestyle, right? Like it's the reality of to be a functioning person in the world that we live in the way that's like expected of society, right? There are certain things we have to do.
Right.
There are certain things like if you didn't learn to use a computer, you got left behind in the workforce. And that's the reality. And I think that is going to be what AI is to this upcoming generation of it's not whether or not you use it in your personal life or use it in your right and your wrong. The reality of it is going to be is if you don't learn to use it, it doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. But if you don't, you're going to get left behind in some way.
I don't know. If an entire generation says, we're not using it.
Yeah.
The world's going to have to adapt.
I agree. And I'd love to see that.
I would love to see that. And yet I don't see all of your generation doing that. One of them showed me how they're using a chat bot to practice some counseling.
Yeah. That's scary. That's concerning.
Yeah. But at the same time, I've used it to help students practice counseling.
Right.
So there's a software called Character AI, and I'll create a character or a client within what I think is like professionally appropriate for their developmental level, right? So I put all those safeguards in, and then I let them chat with it so they can get comfortable trying to make reflections, trying to help understand the meaning or the theme. But I think there's a difference of we're using this for a role play versus somebody, hey, we're going to use this for real life to seek emotional support.
And that's the scary, because we have seen that some individuals have followed through with what AI was telling them, and it has had devastating consequences. And so that is scary. And I think another thing, as I was reading some information, and Bex, you may have this a little bit more, but parents oftentimes are thinking their child is only using AI for homework.
Yeah.
And that is not the case at all.
I feel like that is really naive to hold that thought. And I think we want to think the best of our kids. And we're also letting them have free range on the internet, which is just a lot. But I think it's like kids are inquisitive and creative and curious, and they want resources.
Right.
And AI is kind of this like ultimate resource in one. And so I think the parent perspective is interesting because I think part of it is I don't think a lot of folks even know how to use AI or even how to protect against AI, how to teach your children about AI literacy.
Yes.
And I think it's so important that like if you're going to introduce something to your household, you understand it enough to be able to protect against it the best that you can. But I also get why it's there. Like, I understand that, like, schools are asking kids to use it, you know? And also, it's just in the world. Like, teenagers are using it.
Well, and I think that goes back to exactly what you were saying, that you're using it, what you think you're just Googling something, and you're getting an AI response.
And you don't even know it.
However, I will say, if you're going straight to chat for something that could have been Googled, that's a little much. Like, why is that our first option?
But don't you think we're bypassing some things? I mean, Google is still the number one search engine. YouTube is second. And AI will,
That's going to rise. I'm sure it's up there.
Yes.
Why are we going straight to it, you know?
That's a good question, though. Why are we going straight to it? Right?
I don't know. I Google things that I can find on the internet.
Yeah.
But if I have very particular questions that I need to work through, or I want different information, like researching for this article, for an episode, I'm going to go to AI because I have certain outputs that I'm wanting that I can feed that. Whereas Google, I can't go and get, I've been able to get a couple of things, but no, it's not. It's about a funnel.
Yeah. Well, and I think I also hear that it's about the being able to like customize and cater it. Of like, I have this specific vision that I'm trying to help get this to.
Yes.
Right? I have this idea that I want to create, and so I need assistance in creating that.
Yes. And things that would take me much longer because I would have had to do my research in very different ways now takes a fraction of the amount of time.
Yeah. Which then gives you that time to go back to your relationships.
It does. It really does. And that's where I think it can be supportive of some different relationships and thinking in terms of what I can do and how I can do things. So it saves time for that. But it also, I've been able to use it for some other ideas that actually becomes more inclusive of others, that I can pull them into some things.
Yeah.
And I would not say I'm an advanced AI user. I would say I've been watching it for as long as it's coming out. I'm using it. I feel like I'm pretty proficient, and I'm really getting some of my things. And I probably compared to some peers, I feel like in my field, I might be there, but there's still a lot of things. Automations like Claude Co-work.
Oh, yeah.
I need to figure this out.
How often do you use AI? Yeah.
It's more than daily.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'm doing a training that I traditionally do, and they wanted to know how I can adapt it for a very particular population, right? Working with adolescents who are at the onset of mental illness, especially psychoses. So traditionally, something like that would have taken me 15 to 20 hours to research because it's a 22-hour training.
Okay. So
to pull it in, and I was able to do some inputs into, with the way I wanted to prompt it. And it, I had to know exactly what I was doing. And I had to know enough about symptomology related to that, as well as the intervention and how, and those things. But I was able to spend about an hour and sort of get all my information to upload into a prompt And what I got, I'm like, oh, wow, this is, and then that's not the end of it. I still have to go in and then adapt the training on the slides and stuff. But it was able to organize it in a way that saved me tremendous time. And I think gave me really good information that was more comprehensive instead of like getting into it. I was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot this particular dimension. Or
Yeah. So you took your expertise, you used it to critically think and create this product and this idea and this design to support a group of people.
Yes.
And then used AI to refine it.
Yes.
And I think that's the part I think is often missing in the general use of AI. I think there's a lot of folks who are using it like you do. I use it like you do.
Yeah.
I also use it to do silly things like create a army of my dog in one picture wearing a cowgirl hat. And so I know.
You could have just sent it to me and I would have done it for free without using AI.
Noted for next time.
Okay.
Noted for next time. But I think there's this interesting piece because there are folks like who are using it for work and for schoolwork, but then there's also people who are using it for like social enjoyment and like personal pleasure.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if your strong reaction right there to Bex was because you're a graphic design. Well, and you were like, are people not going to need graphic designers?
It's not that they're not going to need them. Because when you freaking AI an image and have it create something like fully on its own, it won't, the faces of people won't
Oh, I'm
look
aware
right.
that it's AI. It does not look like my dog. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. But everyone
so
that
fun.
sees it thinks it does. And that's the problem. Right? I know.
And you want her to have her doggy in the picture.
That should be your dog. It
heart.
should look like your dog.
I should.
Anyways.
So you're going to make that happen for her.
What
Especially
was
cowgirl.
it?
A cowgirl hat? Cats.
I'll send you the details.
Yeah.
When you have free time.
Yeah.
When you have free
Yeah.
time.
She's like,
In the freaking PowerPoint that I made for getting another dog,
yeah.
I did put a cowboy hat on the puppy.
Yeah,
I love
you
that.
did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you love some of those like creative outlets and things like that. And there's other of like I don't have that ability, but I would be tickled pink to see some of these images. I'm like, it's so cute. Right? But there's so much to it with that. And I don't know, when we think in terms of AI, we just talked about the ability to synthesize information, which is a very high level critical thinking skill. And that's where I worry that gap is going to widen.
Ooh, yeah.
The people just expecting the knowledge and the output. But yet I think AI is going to give us an opportunity. And I think those who can think critically and who do have solid knowledge and content, I think they will rise to an even different level.
Yeah.
I will say I have a theory that if we become a generation that's only using AI for our information and we're never creating our own information, then I don't think the world will ever progress.
So we
That's
become
true.
stagnant.
Yeah, because
Right.
there's no new information.
Well, and I say this, but then I also, and I'm going to say this please take it with a grain of salt, right? Whereas I think let's just take writing a book. In previous time, to write a book and to get published was a very arduous process.
Yeah.
And now people can just self-publish for good, bad, or ugly. And sometimes that's good. And I think people can achieve dreams that way. And yet there's also such a plethora of information that we used to have these processes that did some gatekeeping of what got out there. And so again, we're flooding some things with information. But I mean, there for a while, especially when AI came out, you just saw people like ebooks and, I can write, this ebook in less than 1 hour, and they're putting them out there. And then people are like, this is crap.
Yeah.
But I think this goes back, and I don't know that I fully expanded on this idea, which is AI is pulling from what's out there. And we know, I worry that not only are people putting information out there that's not fully thought out, that's not that great, I worry that people are actually going to start sabotaging and put a lot of misinformation
I think that's
out
already
there.
happening,
It's
right?
happening.
It's already happening because AI is biased from the start.
Yes.
AI has never been unbiased. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion happens because folks read research articles and they know that this is peer-reviewed, this is evidence-based, this is supported. And folks just, I don't know if they just assume, if they just haven't thought otherwise, but I have some friends who are like, AI doesn't have biases. And I'm like, yes, it does. It's going to tell you.
People are not aware.
People are not aware. I think we're aware because we're like, okay, we're going to use this tool, but we're going to educate ourselves on this tool. Right? Whereas like I have some folks who in my life who I love dearly, but they use AI as like a personal assistant, which is cool. Except the way that they use it as a personal assistant is somebody to bounce ideas off of, talk through relationships or confrontations or moments where they're like, was I right or was I wrong? And then it's always giving them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
People without that self-awareness won't ever realize that it's only telling them what they want to hear.
Right.
Yeah. Although I think it's changing. So I recently had a friend who, and I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm so sorry.
No, please.
I had a friend who recently shared with me that one of her friends was consistently having conversations like for seeking mental and emotional support with Claude AI and was doing it for a long-standing time. And then all of a sudden, the AI chatbot was like, I'm hearing these trends and patterns and I'm hearing that you have a concern with XYZ diagnosis. I think that you need to seek professional mental health counseling or talk to your primary care physician.
Really?
Yeah. And that's optimistic. And I think.
And then you go in and you go, hey, my AI told me that I might have X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then they look at you like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so providers we are going to have to understand how to balance some of these types of things with clients. But so I don't know if I told you this, I was doing some stuff and, again, as a business owner, are things showing up, because now people are not just Googling, they're also going to AI to, look for a therapist or what have you. So I was like, give me a list of trauma therapists in Quincy, Illinois. And so, and it gave me like 5 and it's like, okay. And myself or none of my team was on there. And I was like, okay, so why did, Dr. Angel Knoverek and Ann Bailey from Mind Shift Center, why did this not show up? Just to get some, and they're like, and I did this on 2 different platforms. And one of us was like, oh, good that you mentioned that because actually they are much more qualified. And then it gave us a very detailed, and then it was able to pull my name and then I do all this national work and, complex trauma and all of these different things. But I had to ask that. That was one of them.
Yeah.
The second one did the same, but it said it's because Dr. Knoverek and Ann Bailey and Mind Shift Center is not located in Quincy, Illinois, which is what I asked for. We are located in Hannibal, Missouri.
We are not.
We are not located in Hannibal, Missouri. There should be nothing on the website, like wherever it's searched. I don't think there's... Our
location's on the website, and it's on Google.
And there would be nothing that has us associated with Hannibal, Missouri.
That's wild.
And so the only thing is like I might have been doing some research and included Hannibal, Missouri in something that I
But previous chat. Yeah.
But there would have been nothing. So the fact that it was wrong and did not pick up, and flat out was telling me that this business...
said it was hold chest. It said, you're wrong. They're not in Quincy.
Yes. 10 toes down. Strongly and wrongly. But you know what? A client seeking mental health care isn't going to dig that deep. They're going to say, here's my list of 5 that can provide me care.
Yes. And so this is what a lot of business owners are having to do. So before, how do you rank with Google? What do you got to do there? Now we got to how do you rank with SEO and what is it, AEO now and things like that. And so it is really hard, especially for small business owners, to consistently be able to be in a way how they can be seen and visible for their services because word of mouth, especially, and we're small in local area, a small community, and still it's hard to stay visible. and you know, and it's just changing the landscape of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we're seeing just a lot of different things. And so it'll be interesting as things unfold over the next couple of years.
Interesting's a word for it.
I know. Like I said, I'm both this like odd and like looking forward, and then I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. I think when AI first really got introduced to me and I started getting into it, I was so excited. I was like, this is a game changer. And it is.
It is.
But I don't know that it's the game changer I thought it was. I was so excited. I was so optimistic. And then I learned. And then I learned more. And then I learned more. And I'm like, I love it. I still use it. I use it cautiously.
Yes.
And I use it sparingly. And I'm honestly a little terrified of it. My better half, he is a software engineer.
Yes.
And the amount that he uses AI for his work, because he has to.
Right.
He is told, your job is to now use AI to help you with this, to optimize your efficiency. And it does. A project that would have taken him maybe 2 years took him 3 weeks.
Wow.
And that project then went on and was able to help a ton of people in a system that needed a lot of help and have been waiting over 2 years for that help.
And here's the thing, like right now, access to AI is affordable for those of us as small business owners. And if we need to operate at that amount of time, $20 a month, I can do that for this.
I hear you, but the
DoorDash
theory, DoorDash got you in. You're like, oh, DoorDash is cheap. I could DoorDash all the time. It's $1. And then now DoorDash is so expensive. They hike the prices, so they get you in it.
I know.
They get you used to it. This is
what we're
reliant on it.
And how are we not going to? Yeah, we've never DoorDashed.
Oh, that's missing out, man.
I know.
I'm capable of putting in an order and going to get myself.
It's valid. I'm capable of that too on some days.
Yes, and I just think there's certain things we don't need to learn because we would so overuse it.
Yeah. I think for me, I definitely became reliant on it during the pandemic when I was like, what is the best way to do this?
Yeah.
And then also I was in my doc program where time is a luxury.
It is.
But yeah, I went to DoorDash a cup of coffee the other day, and by the time it was the fees, the tip, which the delivery driver deserves a dang good tip, and I will fight anybody 10 toes down on that one. But by the time you have the fees, the tip, and then the DoorDash fees and the owner fees, my $4 cup of coffee became $20.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like that's what's going to happen with AI.
Yes, I do too. And, and most of us were going to pay it. And, but then we get into all these subscriptions, and then it goes back to that. Now I got to keep working and make more money because I have to do these things in order to do the things to have a business.
You're losing your job because of AI. So then where are you getting the money to then?
Well, and because we don't own anything anymore. We don't own media anymore. We don't have DVDs. We don't have VHSs. Everything's digital. Your photos aren't printed out. They're on a cloud that you pay $1.99 a month for.
I do not. That storage is full and has been for years.
I love that.
Yeah. Yes. There's some problem. Yeah. We got to figure our storage out with that. So I think that yes, there's going to be ongoing things, but I think if we go back to when we think about what do people need, and especially we focus on the 12 to 29-year-olds and parenting them. And I sit there and think, AI, what do these 12 to 29-year-olds need? And what do they need to be cautioned about? What do parents need to be cautioned about? And I definitely think understanding AI, the AI literacy as you're talking about, understanding how it can be used as a research partner, as helping organize, and some of those aspects, automating some tasks that we can spend time doing other things. And yet, I think also the thing to be concerned about is how much time and what are we doing on that, and making certain that we are going to it for a very task-oriented thing and not get sucked into thinking that we have a relationship, because it can be easy. So for instance, for me as a business owner and wanting to do some things and not having a colleague who is maybe doing very similar things that I'm trying to do. And so I'm going to AI and it's like a business consultant, a business partner that I'm engaging in some of these, and it can feel like a little bit of a relationship, like, oh, let me go ask Copilot or, Claude, whatever. And, but I'm trying to be very careful about that too, because I think it could be easy to slip into and go, no, I need to reach out. Like, this is good. It got me so far. So keeping it very task oriented, that this is why I'm doing this and what I need. So very input and output oriented and not relational.
Yes. And I think that relational component becomes really tempting when someone needs to feel valid, seen, heard, accepted. I also think about it in what you were saying of task orientation, of how do we use this as a resource, not just a thing we go to all the time. And I remember back when my school was teaching us about how to use the internet. And I don't know what's happening in schools right now about how to use AI.
No.
Or if it even is happening.
I think for a lot of us, we're still at the very beginning. Like, I'm building lessons on how to have my students use it besides plagiarizing or having it do your assignment for you, right? And trying to come up with creative ways. Oh, there was a way that one way that I used it. I had a student, and I love it. They were so excited. They had so much to say about a paper, but exceeded the page limit. And it's great. And I would love to be able to read all that. But when you have, 20 to 40, and it's a 5-page assignment and they've turned it into 10 pages. And I think that actually it was more like they went over like by about 25% or what have you. And so I was like, hey, would you do me a favor? Because I'm trying to figure out a way how I can help students use AI in a way that supports the learning and not just say no AI. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, start typing. I'm like, this is the prompt that I want you to type in. And it was something to the effect of, take this paper and decrease it by 25%, but keep my same voice, keep my same words, keep the content, but decrease it by clarity and, removing excess words.
Okay.
And so it was something along that line. And I'm like, could you just do that? Compare the two, make certain the one that you do, read it, make certain it is your words and this and that. And so she did, and she sent me both. And she's like, oh my gosh, this works so well, and this and that. And I'm like, so this is a good way for people like me who can tend to write and be more wordy than I need to be, that you can, again, put the input in and then get the output, that it saved a lot more time than having to go back in. So there's ways I think that we can help support how to use it, but...
Yeah. It makes me wonder, though, what skills are we losing in the process of that? And is there, I think in the sake of time of trying to give the student credit and opportunity so we can make the grade, yes. But then also, isn't there power in how can we learn that critical thinking skill to be able, so we still have to teach both and,
right? Because being able to be to write with more brevity, to more concise and so forth, that's a skill, and it's a much higher level skill. When you think of like our journal articles, our grant applications, you've got to make every word count.
Hey y'all. So fun fact, our timer stopped working.
Oh, I love that.
It got stuck. So we are actually like 5 minutes over on time.
Oh, wow.
So let's wrap up. If you have any final thoughts, you can get them out there. Otherwise, we're going to do takeaways.
Ooh, okay. I think my final thoughts are just use AI cautiously. I think use it wisely, use it intentionally. And be thoughtful with how you use it, because it does cost. It comes at a price. And while it might be free to you now, what is the long-term investment that you're taking away from the world that we live in?
Yes.
Right? Both, economically, socially, culturally, but then environmentally as well.
Yes. And ditto to all that you said. And I'm also going to add something for parents, especially parents who maybe are not as familiar with AI or think they are. It is so important to be having these discussions with your children, asking them, how are you using it? right? And getting a sense, when you're putting into Google, making certain that you're understanding that Gemini is giving an overview, but really be very clear and get that sense. Are they starting to use it to replace relationships or to supplement relationships? Are they going to it for advice when really we want to make certain that they have people in their life that they can seek that support from, and to know what to go to AI for and when is it time to put it aside and go to people. And I think that that's going to be the real important part, is making certain that we're having those conversations of how to use it, and how do we make certain we're getting people who are in our lives that we're connecting and using them. And again, that's probably a recurring theme that we come up with, like put the screens down, talk, look at each other, connect, touch grass, things like that.
Touch grass and rebel. Like, I love that your generation is like, F this, we're fighting it. Like, we don't like this. So also.
Yes.
I'm going to continue being a hypocrite and say that AI is bad and refuse to use it in most cases. However, I will still use it in some cases. But it's bad and you should not use it.
I don't think that's being a hypocrite. I think that you're using your discretion as to when it can be helpful and necessary, versus, no, I'm not going to use it in general.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and you have been our guest from the furthest distance so far. So we're so glad to have you.
Anytime.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.